Welcome to Drum and Drummer, a podcast focused on drums, drumming and drummers. I'm George Pickering and that's Ben Winty, and we are both professional drummers in this business we call music. So stick around and join us as we pass the time whilst trying to stay in time.
I wonder what she's
and
doing
then she
now.
was replaced by Maggie Gyllenhaal,
Oh, fair.
who has an odd face. Georgie boy.
Ben.
It's
Hello.
Thursday. It's Drum and Drummer. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm fine. My head is bald and shiny,
I'm excited
like
to
a brand
show
new Easter egg.
what flavour, what kind of chocolate we're talking.
Probably be. It would probably be Cadbury's.
Is that the shiniest, would you say?
Probably not.
You probably think Galaxy.
You probably look at it's very silky, or maybe like a posh Thornton's.
A posh Thornton's.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Anyway, boy, we got a cracking episode this week.
We do, yeah.
We were joined by Chris Woody Wood from Bastille.
Yep. He's currently on tour in America, but he very kindly, on a day off, did an interview with us.
Yeah.
Which, much appreciated. What did we talk about?
We talked about
Current tour.
they're touring for their new album that came out earlier this year. Festival season. He's a big fan.
Yep. His favourite gigs, favourite places to play.
How he met Dan, how he joined Bastille.
Yep.
We talked about his drum kit, his
Yep.
monster setup with all his pads
Yeah.
and all that. We talked about how he learnt drums,
Yep.
some of his drum teachers, all that sort of stuff. First bands, going to ACM, touring with Muse. I mean, that's a dream right there, isn't it?
Yep.
And also, what he'd maybe do if he wasn't a drummer.
Yeah.
Very grateful for Woody for joining us, on his day off.
Yeah. And he was very generous with all the stuff he talked about. He kind of felt like he really ventured into parts from tour life that was, fascinating and fun tour stories, and constantly going, I've got to tell you this as well, which is brilliant. As a guest,
and you look at kind of Bastille's kind of career. They're just part of the woodwork now, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
And still just smashing out #1 albums and
Exactly.
doing big old tours, big old shows. So we're very grateful for Woody for joining us. So
Yeah.
get stuck straight in, innit?
Yep.
Here we go.
Enjoy. So, whereabouts are you in the world right now? You're currently touring in America.
We are, yeah. We've got an unheard of 2 days off in Minneapolis, Minnesota, so the hometown of Prince. So, yeah, the way it lines up is because the country is just enormous. We have a choice of either basically stay on the tour bus for literally 2 days, trucking across most of the Midwest, or we get a cheap flight here and have 2 days off. So that's what we've opted for.
Have you got any other plans for the days off while on tour?
So there's Paisley Park, which is kind of like Prince's old gaff, which is now set up as a kind of a museum and stuff to his life and works. But unlike Graceland, it's really hard to get into. So we're waiting to find if we can get in. If not, then I'll do it regardless. Going to watch Top Gun 2. That's about as far as it goes.
Yeah.
Right. So should we begin with, how's the tour going? How's the American leg been?
You know what? It's been really good. So obviously I say this from a perspective knowing that I'm very, very privileged to do what I do, in the way we do it as well, like with tour buses and crew and stuff. But American touring is quite grueling compared to European one, just because the drives are so long. I mean, if you drove 12 hours in the UK, you'd be landed to like John O'Groats done, but that's just kind of going from like one city to another one in the same state, just to kind of give you like an idea of scale. So it's a lot more travel time, and the roads here, believe it or not, are crap. So you're just in your bunk bouncing around half the time. So you can end up being a little sleep deprived. But no, that's like a sort of moan. But apart from that, it's brilliant. The crowds have been good. Everyone's really up for it. For a lot of people, it's their first show back, kind of post COVID as well. So, and I think there's a fair few people still feel quite a bit of anxiety about kind of being in like big crowds again, in big groups. So, yeah, we're just thrilled that we can do this, and like people have turned up in their numbers. And we also do this kind of VIP ticket as well, where we do like a few extra songs and sound check for people, and do like a kind of Q&A afterwards with them, and that to kind of actually properly interact with people and just get some different kind of perspectives has been, it's been brilliant. So yeah, it's a privilege to get to tour the US, especially as a British band. And we'd be back doing it again after what felt like an interminable amount of time during COVID. It's just a massive relief.
How many times have you been to the US with the band?
Oh my God. Pre-COVID, anyway, we would probably be over here minimum 4 to 8 weeks a year, like on and off, like doing TV or radio or sessions, or just basically, as I say, it's such a big country. You have to go around and work basically every state in terms of radio and things. And obviously with the UK, it's like if you can tick off Radio 1 or Capital, then that's a pretty big tick, and you've got the whole territory sort of covered. So you have to go and do the equivalent one of those in every state. So, but I mean, this is our 6th or 7th US tour, I think. Yeah, we're pretty well traveled around here now.
Where are you in the tour at the moment in terms of, are you sort of midway through, near the start?
Pretty much halfway now, yeah.
Halfway.
Yeah, halfway. So yeah, it's a 6-week run. Yeah, we're in the middle of it, and also in Middle America as we speak. So we started off down in Tennessee and worked our way kind of through the desert down towards LA, and then up the west coast, and then we're kind of working our way back across with the top now, and then we'll have a little jaunt into Canada briefly, and then back down the east coast, and then we'll come back in again and finish in Chicago on the 18th.
Fantastic. Nice. And what about the rest of the year? Does the tour continue to the end of the year?
Yeah, so when we get back, we're straight into festival season, which is my absolute favorite time of year, because you actually basically get to kind of go away on the weekend, see a whole bunch of other bands as well. Either see mates in ones that you already know, or like meet new ones. It's kind of like summer camp almost.
Yeah.
So go on the weekends, then you're home in the week, and so I've got a wife and two small kids, so that sort of balance for me is like perfect. And then rest of the year, then we go to South America for a short run in September, and then October is, well, it's quiet at the minute, but knowing our management, they'll find ways of occupying us. And then we've got our sort of delayed European tour run in November. So we were originally going to start the whole tour in Europe in March, but just because of they're a little bit further behind with kind of COVID unlocking and that sort of stuff, we postponed it to November. So then that'll be that for this album pretty much. But I know we're thinking about album 5 already, so those sorts of things will happen.
And this tour is promoting the newest album, Give Me the Future.
Mm-hmm.
It came out February, was it this year? Yeah,
February the 4th.
Yeah.
So so that was me to kind of come back and very, very, very grateful that was number 1 as well in the UK. So that people still care after all this time is pretty gratifying. So we're doing that one, and then it's kind of weird because often I guess if you talk about pre-COVID times, we are now in semi-post-COVID times, I guess. Well, whatever the new normal looks like, but we would often be sometimes working singles off of that before the album's even finished. Off of an album, sorry, before it's even finished. But this has been a bit more condensed. So I'm wondering if the next campaign might be a little more drawn out. To say we'll be doing 1 or 2 singles first while the album's getting finished, and then do a tour, have a slightly longer cycle.
Festival season coming up. Any favourites?
I am absolutely buzzing for Reading and Leeds, purely because before lockdown, my wife and I had tickets to go and see Rage Against the Machine in Arizona at a gig which was March 2020, which as we all know was a slightly eventful month. So that didn't happen. But so we're playing the same night as Rage at Reading and Leeds. So we're going to be making up for lost time on that one. So I think we're doing Leeds on the Friday. So I think Charlie, our guitarist, and I are probably just going to go and get in the pit on the Friday, and then I'll watch the side of stage with the wife on the Sunday at Reading. Be a bit more civilized.
I love that. You get both experiences then, definitely.
Exactly. So
hopefully
the first one won't involve me getting elbowed in the face or something, but there we go.
Have there ever been any kind of pinch me moments? I'm sure there have, in terms of gigs you played, because obviously Bastille have played it seems at every festival. What was the first one that you thought this is massive?
So, well, I'll give you a few answers. So the first time when I've like everyone says like what was the moment that you guys made it? Like, I don't think there was a particular moment, but the one where I really realised that something was happening was Leeds. That was Reading Festival 2012. So the album wasn't out yet. It's the first album, sorry. We had one single out at that point, and we'd done like a whole run of like small like sold out tours. So doing like at that point maybe we'd done Scala, maybe Coco and that sort of thing. So we were kind of working our way up. So we did okay live, but we weren't expecting much of a crowd to turn up. And then we did Festival Republic stage, which is the big tent off to the side for the main stage. And we go out and it was full from front to back. We had one single out at the time called Overjoyed, which is kind of this like slow-ish kind of, well, it starts out as a piano ballad, then it picks up, and then Dan just plays the first round of chords of the piano, and the whole tent just screams the words back at us. So like, oh, okay, something's connecting. Everyone here knows that like this song and like that into it. So that was like the first time where like, okay, this is moving now. The most surreal one, just for the size of the crowd. So when we did Rock Werchter, how you pronounce it, in Belgium, which is like their sort of Glastonbury. And by the way, European festivals are just incredible. Like they're so well run. The people there are amazing. Yeah, I can't recommend them highly enough. So yeah, we did Rock Werchter in Belgium, and it was that sort of happy accident where we've been booked before the album had gone, before Pompeii got stratospheric. So we were like mid sort of level, like in the pecking order on the main stage, but then sort of success of the song had probably knocked us up a few rungs. So basically everyone turned up. It's well over like 100,000 people there, because you could see the speed of sound, like the kind of delay reaching the back of the crowd. So people were jumping along, but jumping in like a wave. So it was like watching like a literal sea of people. And I'm just playing. I'm like, this is the most surreal thing I've ever seen. Yeah. Just the crowd was just endless. So yeah, that's something I'll never forget. And then I guess similarly doing Glasgow 2019 as well. That was our first time doing the pyramid stage, and again it's just full from front to back, because we're very much like a kind of Glasgow band. So to finally tick that off was just just amazing.
I did play Glastonbury once on a Spirit of 78 stage. This was 2013, so it's quite a small side stage, but I'll take it. I mean, it's, for the 50 people.
As far as like vibes go, there is no other festival in the world like it. I mean, and we've done most of them. Like Glasgow is very, very special, and also a West Country boy as well. So yeah, I'm incredibly biased. But
yeah, from Plymouth originally, is that right?
That's right. Yeah, from Plymouth. Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, I grew up in Plymouth, and I was kind of playing around pubs and stuff with my dad's band actually. So he's a guitarist and singer, so. Kind of cut my teeth like murdering Beatles and Stones songs from age of about 13, 14.
Amazing. Well, that's what we were going to talk about, because when we had Ben Kennedy on the show, he sort of mentioned that. Is this how it came about? You were advertising drum lessons, and Dan saw a flyer that you put.
Yeah. So
what was the story
God, this is 2008. God, I'm aging myself here. So I've moved to London, and doing the thing which everyone does initially, which is like you work like rubbish tent jobs in the daytime and then try and do music in the evening.
What sort of jobs were you doing?
Oh, everything. I was like literally everything. At one point I was unloading pallets and pallets of IKEA catalogs into Victoria Station one night. Yeah, honestly the most random stuff, like this like rubbish office stuff, filling in like a poster room in Hammersmith. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, it's just literal like rubbish jobs, just to kind of live hand to mouth. But I trying to do that at the same time as music was like living two lives. Yeah, my dad was like, you need to like find a way of doing music full time. So the initial one was, I was doing a handful of wedding gigs at that point, but there wasn't enough to cover the bills. So it was like, okay, well, I can start teaching drums. So me and my dad did this flyer drop like all around kind of Wimbledon way where I was living at the time. Must have done about 1,000. Got like 3 phone calls, 2 for drum lessons, and 1 from this guy who he thought I was just an old boy who had a bunch of students. He's like, I need a drummer for like, I'm trying to start a band sort of thing. Do you have any students? It's like, well, dude, I'm like 21. I'll be in your band. So yeah, I just went and met Dan down the pub down the road. So yeah, he lived like three roads away from me at the time, just by coincidence. And then he was doing much more like abstract kind of loop pedal sort of stuff at the time. Like it didn't sound much like Bastille does now at all. But like when I heard the stuff, it's like, oh, this kid's got something clearly. So yeah, I've been playing with him ever since. So, yeah, that's 14 years ago. Yeah.
Were you the first sort of recruitment from Dan, or did he have other?
I was, yeah.
Guys?
So for a time, it was just me and Dan for a while. Like just like, so I had a keyboard, had a loop pedal, and had like a little like micro synth, like which would do like like basically bass synth stuff. And then so yeah, me and him would kind of cover that. And then for a while we were like Spinal Tap, but with bass players rather than drummers. So we must have gone through about 7 or 8 bass players, but Will's the one that finally stuck. And Kyle, he was the last one to come on board. Basically, we were like, we need a fourth person, like a fourth person, and we just asked everyone we knew at like house parties and stuff, and just anyone. And he's the only one that called us back. And
wow,
yeah,
he's glad he made that phone call, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Speaking of temp jobs, I was recently working a crew job and at Brighton Centre, and I actually helped set up your kit. So
thank you.
I was like, that's okay. I basically I don't need to talk about it any more than that on this podcast. But it's I was working with Ollie, your drum tech, and and I just asked him a million questions about your setup because your setup is fantastic. So as it's a drumming podcast, I felt like here's a good chance to discuss all the parts to it, because it's not just an acoustic drum kit. You've got pads and you've got all sorts going on. So I wondered if you could kind of describe what you've got, basically.
Yeah,
it's very involved. So yeah, first of all, I should give a massive shout out to Ollie, the most handsome drum tech in the business.
He is handsome.
Is he, George?
Oh yeah, very.
Okay.
He's definitely, honestly, like, jokes aside, he's the best. I've done a few crew jobs setting up for bands, and he's one of the nicest people I've ever met in terms of like a roadie and stuff.
But yeah, love him dearly. So yeah, he has to set up my absolute monstrosity of a drum kit every day, bless him, which you probably wouldn't fit it into a pub gig, let's just say that. So there's been a sort of evolution of the kit over the years. So when I first started playing with Dan, we had one SPDS that we shared basically between me and him. So he was triggering stuff at the front, and then we used to run a couple of long cables back to me. Then I could have a couple of pads on my drum kit to trigger claps, whatever. Just we couldn't afford to have two, so we had to kind of make it work. So yeah, so basically from the very get-go with Bastille, it's always been like a sort of a hybrid setup where there's some sort of drum pads or electronic included in most songs. So it'll be, as I say, like hand claps or that song I mentioned earlier, Overjoyed. That was me coming down the front and playing all that on SPDS, like a sort of programmed kind of glitchy beat. So we would do that. And then as it became more involved, once we got a record deal and then we could afford a second SPDS, I could have my own. So that was off to my left-hand side. I'm sorry, and my kit setup, is like single kick drum, like 22-inch, 12-inch rack tom, and then 14, 16-inch floor toms to my right. So yeah, like 1 up, 2 down setup.
What brand of kit is that?
Oh, sorry, yes. So British Drum Company, who are, if you haven't played their stuff, it is unbelievable. So all handmade up in Stockport by Keith and the boys and girls. Yeah, it's all handmade. Just it's the quality of the stuff is unbelievable, and it sounds amazing. So every time we're doing like US festivals, you'll see like all the drum kits ready to go, like from other bands on the risers. It's normally like a few 2 or 3 DWs, a load of CNC kits, and that sort of stuff. And Ollie's just getting badgered constantly, like, what is that? every time they hear it or see it, they're like, what is this? So yeah, it definitely turns a few heads. So and then play a 14 by 6.5 snare, the Merlin one, which again is the best snare I've had on tour. Just real nice wooden snare, and it cracks like you wouldn't believe.
Is that the British Drum Company as well?
Yes, yeah, British Drum Company, Merlin, yeah. So yeah, I will shamelessly plug them till the cows go home, because their stuff's really good. And also the story with them, I'm jumping around here. When I switched to them, it was just before that Glastonbury set in 2019. So I've worked with Keith before, who's like the master drum builder at BDC, when he was at Premier. So I was at Premier initially, and I wasn't happy with where I was post Premier, but and then I kind of rang him with like 6 weeks to go. So like, dude, I want to jump ship. Can you sort me a kit in 6 weeks? He's like, yeah, should be okay. Like, can you make it a custom spray, like rainbow, like pride flag finish? He's just like, yes, okay.
I've seen pictures of that kit. Looked amazing. Yeah,
it looks amazing. Yeah. So that was partly the two things. So the kind of album, like the sort of look for it was meant to be like kind of ravey, like 90s ravey, like super colourful. So I was like, okay, we need a really colourful drum kit. But then we would quite often get people down the front of our shows with like rainbow pride flags and that sort of stuff. So that was kind of like a nod to them as well. It was like, well, I'll see your flag, I'll raise you a drum kit. So that was like that, yeah. So they pulled, I think, a few all-night shifts. I'm pretty sure the lacquer was still drying on it as it was being rolled out at Glastonbury onto the stage. But they managed to get it turned around just in time. DDC, they're amazing. I'll be playing them until they don't want me anymore. So yeah, 22-inch kick, 12-inch rack, 14 by 12 and 16 by 14 floor toms, Merlin snare, and Sabian cymbals. I've been with Sabian since day zero, and they take like great care of us. And yeah, Andy, who like runs the company, he's just I take a deep breath every time he rolls into town from the US, because he loves a beer, and we often end up like 3 a.m. in Soho eating duck or something from some scabby little restaurant. And always got to brace myself. But yeah, he's a great guy, and everyone at Sabian has just been brilliant ones as well. So I've got so many cymbals, but yeah, it's like 14-inch. It's nearly all like hand hammered and HHX stuff. And depending on which version of the drum kit we're on, because we've got, because I'm a pretentious rock star, we've got 3 different iterations of the same kit, basically, like the A, B, and C rig. So boring logistics for you. If say we're doing festival season, if we're say doing 3 gigs in a row, we're doing like say Poland to Spain to Hungary, for instance, a truck couldn't make that trip all in one go on its own. So say A rig drum kit would start in Poland, B rig would be on its way down to Spain, and then while we're playing the Spanish gig, A rig is then making its way across to Hungary to be there in time. So in just my drums, obviously, it's like we've got a bunch of different guitars and amps and all the keyboards and whatnot. That's the only way it's kind of possible to do those gigs kind of back to back. The drums are pretty much identical on every rig, and the cymbals they all change throughout. But yeah, I play a mixture of HH and HHX maybe, and generally go with like bigger trashy crashes, because when you're on big stages, you need to move a lot more air basically. Yeah. You need bigger ones. So that's the kind of core of my like acoustic drum kit, and then the electronics have evolved over the years. So started out with like the SPDF, and then that could take 4 external triggers. So I had like two extra pads off to my left of my hi-hat, and then I had an acoustic kick trigger and acoustic snare trigger. So then I could fire off like say certain bass drum samples from the album, add like hang slaps to the snare, or like really dirty processed like snare drum sounds to the real snare as a sort of layering thing. Yeah. And then that was album 1, and I was basically doing like a sort of octopus impression at times, where I'm basically playing like a programmed drum beat that intertwines with a real drum beat on the drum kit. So
I watched some footage of you playing live, and you're just half
everywhere.
Pads, half kit. Yeah.
So there's one song from the second album. To do 16 bars of the song, it took me 3 weeks at home in the studio, just slowing it right down, like right down, because it's always a natural way of playing. So you just got to get the muscle memory completely locked in, and it's So even if I'm looking at the SPDS, for instance, sometimes I'm like playing it, thinking about like Tetris shapes, thinking like that's the L1, that's the square. Yeah, that's just the kind of way to remember it sometimes. And then come album 2, so we had a bit of success, and then the songs started getting more involved and more electronic. Then I basically needed more playing surfaces, because I was still firing all the samples just from the memory of the SPDS. So I had to get a little expansion PM2 that plugged into that, so that gave me an extra four inputs. Then that added 2. So if you look at it like a normal drum kit, you've got your hi-hat on the left and bass drum pedal on the right. On the outside of either of those, I had two like triggers. So like what is now a KT10 like Roland one, but at the time it was using the old KD7 Roland ones with I had like a double pedal off to one side, so I could fit it all in. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, I then had four pedals in front of me, two of which were electronic ones, and then added two more Roland pads over my floor toms to my right. So then, yeah, that's when the Octopus stuff really started coming in, and I had to incorporate that. And then I was able to achieve a pretty accurate like representation of all the sort of programmed drums from album 2. Album 3 is when I was really hitting the sort of ceiling of what was possible, because a lot of the songs are now having like developing drum sounds. So it wasn't just like the one hand clap sample, for instance, through the whole song. It's like you'd have like sometimes filtered ones that would change throughout a verse, or like things that would switch between. So and then again, I'm having to remember which surface plays what, and I'm hopping around, and I was sort of maxing out what that could do. So for album 4, I became aware of a guy called Joe Clegg, who was Ellie Goulding's drummer on ND for years, but he's basically Mr. Ableton, and he's basically been pioneering at the forefront for quite some time now about using Ableton as your sort of SPDS memory, as it were, that you can fire all the samples from within Ableton. And so for people that don't know what that is, so Ableton is, well, it's basically recording software like Logic or Pro Tools or whatever, but it's one that's really built for live. It's called Ableton Live. So a lot of bands and DJs use it for playback, and you can do loops, and it's very intuitive and, touch wood, very, very stable. So we'll rarely crash your laptop. So yeah, I've seen Joe been using that for the years, and he now does the online course, and I love Joe. I'm going to plug him to the cows home. He's a genius, and he's now got this kind of bunch of kids who all learn from him, and they're now going out into the world and becoming MD. So he's like at the center of this whole new revolution of how shows are getting MD now. So I got in touch with him a year ago when we were getting prepped for going out with this album, Give Me the Future now, and that has the most ridiculous like changing drum sounds in it. So I think we worked out there's on Distorted Light Beam on the first single, there's 72 different drum samples. So I'd have needed 72 pads to perform that on my old setup, which is just impossible.
Yeah.
So so he basically programs the changes on like a smaller sort of set of pads. So yeah, I mean, in theory, if you wanted to, you could just have one drum pad, just hit it relentlessly, and you could play the whole song with it. So we got Joe down to help with that initially. I thought he was just going to be doing the drum side of things, but then as we got more into it, because him and his friend Simon, he's also brilliant. Used to be on Ellie's tour. There's a couple of geniuses, and they started getting into like, well, we can help you with all the keyboard stuff as well. So then we can add like side chains to your synth, and basically make like literally perform everything, and just take nearly everything off a backing track that normally just was impossible to play. It's like, well, we can make it all playable. Wow. So they came in and they basically ND'd this whole tour for us, which is great, because I guess it gets us out of a bit of a rut, and just to have some fresh ears on it. So they've even gone in and like remixed like 2 or 3 songs for us for live. I mean, like they're still fairly faithful to the originals, but it's just given it a whole new level of polish. And I think this is like our best sounding tour now as a result, because of those boys coming in and just giving it like a real lift.
I watched a bit of footage from, I can't remember, but it was earlier on in your career, live footage from a festival, and then I watched one from 2019 maybe, and the difference in sound and how much stuff you had going on, like the show just felt so much fuller and I guess more authentic to the sort of the album tracks. It's a big difference what you got going on. And I guess like, did you have, I guess it's quite easy to put a lot of that stuff on track, and
I mean,
but you seem to wanna do as much as you can between the four of you.
That's been the sort of the mantra since day one, is like nothing goes on track until we've literally run out of fingers and toes and limbs that can possibly make a noise at that particular moment. I mean, some things like, for instance, on the first album, it's very heavy on like we had a real orchestra come in and track all the strings at Abbey Road. So sadly, we can't afford to tour an orchestra all the time. So that has to go on track. But although we did actually do an orchestral tour, believe it or not, years ago as well. We'll come on to that in a minute, but yeah, and it's just, yeah, that's always been our sort of mantra. And I guess like the way pop music's going now, I mean, I'm also like a songwriter and co-producer now. I've been doing quite a bit the last couple of years, and we can kind of yearn for the days of like back in the 80s or 70s where like everything was real drums and it's all performed and it's a band in the studio. But the reality is now there's like a lot of kids literally making bedroom pop just on their laptops and programming stuff, being wildly successful with it, and people are going to want to hear like an accurate reflection of what that is. So if you can perform it like faithfully, then for drummers out there who are just starting to work with artists for the first time or like their own bands, like people don't just go in and pick any old snare sound or any old hand clap. Like they'll pore over it for ages. They'll tweak it, they'll filter it, they'll EQ it. So like that's the sound for that song. That's part of the world they're trying to build. So you need to try and, where possible, like recreate that. And there's like many ways of doing it, but yeah, if you can be as faithful to their sort of like art as possible, then people will definitely rate you for it. So I've gone off on a bit of a tangent. What we're saying. So yeah, sorry. But yeah, it's more that that's the way that pop music is going. So I've done a bit of filled in on a few a few lessons down at BIM now in Brighton, where I live, for Pat down there, and I get asked sometimes like, oh, I've got X amount of money, like what snare drum shall I get? Like what cymbal shall I get? Like, well, don't, just go and get an SPDS. That will get you infinitely more work these days. If you're on it with the electronics, like you can go and do like a Radio 1 live lounge. You can go and play for a dance artist, play for a grime artist, whatever. So no one's going to care. As lovely as it would be to have a nice Black Beauty snare drum, that's not going to get you as much work as if you're competent on electronics. And there's some young guys now that I even work with, who help with the people that we're writing with on the side, who are already kind of following the Joe Clegg route, and they're like deep into Ableton, and they're getting work off that already. Like, cause as a drummer these days, I think you need to have a few kind of strings to your bow. Like if you can sing a bit, if you can run electronics, if you can run backing tracks, like give yourself 2 or 3 jobs, make yourself like indispensable, basically. That's the way forward.
Definitely. Do you ever wish for a moment that it was the 80s or the 70s and you didn't have to play pads and you could just just play?
I mean, like my favorite band in the world is still Queen of the Stone Age. That's the sort of thing I'd love to just be trying to delete the drum kit every night. Yeah. But I think with what we're talking about, murmurings of the next album, is it might be a lot more organic, because we've gone so extreme in the sort of digital, like retro futuristic sound on this album. I think we're going to maybe pull back from that a bit and go more the other way. I say that, but then we change our minds every 10 minutes. But the last time we mentioned it, we are going to go the more like organic route. I think that's hopefully what's going to come.
Do you think your kit's at a stage now where there's the evolution of it is stopped, or do you think there's a
if I add any more, I think Ollie's going to stab me. I don't think it. I mean, like it can literally do anything now. I don't know. The only evolution I can think of now would be also because sorry, I didn't say on this tour as well. I've got a second like sort of stand up drum, like purely electronic drum kit as well, which you might have seen at the Brighton Centre.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that's to kind of perform like all the songs that are like just blatantly all programmed drums and not real. Then we'll make a point of using that to kind of perform it and make it more like kind of retro futuristic. But yeah, in previous times we had a gong drum down the front of the stage with like pads around it and an SPDS, then I could perform a couple of songs off of that, so that's always evolving. So maybe on the next album, if we go like super organic, maybe, I don't know, if we need some real wide open sort of like, I don't know, like 60 drum kit sound or whatever, then there might be a second kit for that, but I don't think that'll happen. Because Ollie would 100% kick my head in.
I want to go back to your early days of drumming.
Yeah.
When did you first start playing drums?
I first started playing drums at the age of 11. So just like the last term of primary school, and then I carried on having lessons through secondary school. So with a very lovely bloke called Colin Bacon, who, he was brilliant for me and very encouraging. So he taught me through, well, pretty much all through to like end of school. And then at the same time as doing that, I was then doing what everyone does, which is like you form school bands, which sound horrific, but then gradually you get less horrendous.
We like to find out, me and George have talked on here before about the awful band names we came up with when we were at school. Are there any you can remember that stick out?
I do. There's one where I think it was like one that was going through the dictionary or some crap like you do, and then we went from the back. I think one was called zoonosis. I don't even know what that is. It's some biology term. Yeah, that was interesting.
I like that.
Yeah, so that was pretty shocking. But yeah, and then just like playing along to kind of albums that you were really into at the time. So like Chad Smith was a massive influence on me, as was like Dave Grohl, like Taylor Hawkins, Jimmy Chamberlain, the Smashing Pumpkins, and then I think I'd play along to like all sorts. I don't play double kick, never have done, but like I was trying to knock something out along to like Slipknot, and then jam along to like James Brown, Jimi Hendrix, Spy and Family Stone stuff, or Britney Spears, whatever. I would just play along to like anything pretty much, just for kind of fun.
What was it that initially drew you to the drums?
I think it's partly that. So my dad, as I said, is a guitarist and singer anyway. So I was always growing up around gigs from quite a young age. I guess as everyone does, isn't it? You just kind of go and have a little tap when you're 5 or 6. You're like, oh, what's this? Yeah, so my dad did that. My sister played piano. So I guess just being like juvenile, just that I'm doing something different, not copying them.
Yeah.
So kind of end up doing that. And also very naively, I thought you didn't have to learn to read music if you play drums. And how wrong I was. But now it just felt right for me, and then I just kind of stuck with it really ever since. So I was doing all that, and then ended up going to music college in Guildford, which was for networking was great.
So ACM.
Yeah. I'm glad I went because so that's where I met Mark, who's the Bastille producer. He's my friend from uni. That definitely panned out. that connection in the long run.
How long were you at ACM for?
For 2 years. So and then I kind of got a little foothold like in the southeast. Having left home, and that's where I started playing like my first function bands and that sort of stuff, and actually kind of earning money as a musician. And then made the move up to London, doing all the temp jobs and all that sort of thing. But then at the same time, when I started with Bob, so I started seeing Bob Armstrong. So I saw him I beg your pardon. I've skipped someone. Sorry. There's a guy down in Devon called Dave Cox, who was brilliant for me as well. I saw him for 2 years as a teacher, and he kind of pushed me on like a lot more like going through the advanced funk studies stuff. And he was brilliant. So that kind of got me ready to go to Guildford. Sorry, I should mention Dave. He was very helpful. But so subsequently post ATM, I managed to get in with Bob Armstrong, and I saw him for about 5 years. And just completely transformed. Well, my playing. Everyone goes to see him. It's just completely transformative. But he's, oh God bless him. Yeah, he was very blunt, which it was necessary at times. So when I first went and saw him, he'd sit down. He'll make you play a few things. He'll give you things to play, and you do it. He'll do an assessment, and then I spent like the first 3 years with him, like doing like jazz stuff. And then when we kind of reached the sort of the fork in the road, and then like, well, do you want to go down more like turbo jazz bebop stuff, or do you want to work on more marching and technique stuff? I was like, well, I want to do the marching technique stuff, because that was really the reason I went to see him in the first place. He's like, okay, fine, we'll do that. He's like, oh, do you want to see my assessment of you when you first came? I was like, yeah, that's cool. Just pulled it out. Just Chris Wood, jazz, no. all it said. just
I
no.
had a professor at uni. I studied trombone. And he was renowned for being just so blunt and brutal.
Yeah.
And one that just stuck out at me was, it was the day before my third year end of year exam, and I played my recital through to him, and he just looked at me and went, "When's your exam?" I said, "Tomorrow." And he went, "It's not ideal, is it?" I was like,
"How'd you get on there?"
Yeah, fine. Yeah, I did okay.
All right.
But it was just that, and you play something, and he'd be like, if you got any, he was the principal trombone for the Philharmonia, and he'd be like, have you got any hints or tips or anything. And one of them, he just went, just play it better. I was like, cool, yeah, okay. But for me, I needed that. That was what really got me through. I just needed that real sort of, I think I coasted quite a bit, and then that was a real reality check of like, you need to sort yourself out, otherwise you're going to struggle. So I'm quite grateful to him in the end. Yeah.
Well, same. I mean, like Bob would literally just pull everything apart. And when I first started seeing him, and bear in mind, this is Bob Armstrong, who's like world-renowned drum teacher, and just everyone that's like who's who of who's learned with him. The first 3 or 4 months I saw him, I shit you not, I was just doing quarter notes on the ride cymbal only at 50 BPM. I was like, this guy is taking the piss. I don't understand. But what he was doing was, he was making sure that the upstroke of what I was playing, because I was doing jazz, was swung. So I wasn't just going like 1 and 2 and 3. I was going like 1, 2, 3. Until he was satisfied that that was like properly grooved in. Then you take up the speed, and then when you're doing that, then to get the sort of the like jazz like low like skip note, then you can just drop it rather than play it, and then it sort of plays itself. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. I was like, oh, that's what it's for. So literally building up the sort of like biomechanics of it from the ground up. So then once you understand that, then when he would show me other stuff like with like the like how to do doubles properly and like all the like molar stuff, because like you have more patience for it. It was like, okay, well there's a method to this apparent madness that we're currently going through.
Yeah.
Sadly I didn't actually finish studying with him as such, because the band took off. Obviously he was like, the whole point you came to see me was to go and do that, like go and do your fucking job, stop whinging. Like, okay.
Yeah, it turned out right, didn't it? Yeah.
It did, yeah. But yeah, I mean, so like anyone, obviously Bob passed away a couple of years ago now, but anyone who wants to kind of learn that sort of stuff, there's people out there who study with him who are like world class at it, like Pete Riley, Steve White, Pat Garvey. Yeah, there's a who's who out there of people who can show you.
Yeah, well, that's what
Bob did.
That's what I was going to mention, because I studied at BIM under Pat Garvey, and I remember he used to be what you were describing in Bob. You know, he seemed like it was really hard to get his almost thanks on stuff. Oh, it's, you know, it would be really hard to impress him. And I remember throughout first year, you know, even if you felt like, I feel like I've really learnt this piece, he'd go, well done, you know, and that would be it from Pat Garvey. And I remember hearing him talking about his drum teacher, Bob Armstrong. And I think, you know, we were 18 and we thought, Pat Garvey's got a drum teacher, you know, like who is this guy? But I think it's important that, because I do remember at the end of first year, and I remember Pat gave me a compliment, and still to this day, I'm like, that was insane.
It means a lot more, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's it. When my trombone professor just went, yeah, it's pretty good. I was like, yeah, that's
made it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm happy with that. Yeah.
I mean, God, I've been touring for over 10 years now, and like done some alright gigs, but like, I mean, I still need a tune up. I mean, I say Pat's a friend, but I see him for like lessons, or Steve White, like occasionally, just for like, it's good to have a set of, because like there's bad habits creeping. You without a set of eyes on it, you just don't notice.
Was there any sort of things that he looked at when you were playing for the first lesson and went, let's work on that? Do you remember?
Yeah. What sort of bad habits do you find creeping in when you're out?
So the ones that I had, I used to be quite tense, and it's like he was like, you need to let the like drum the drumstick sing. I was like, what you on about? And then like, at the time I was playing some like garbage Promark, like this old stick, and he's like, listen to your stick on the right cymbal. He's like, duh, and listen to mine. Ping. I'm like, oh, and he's like, so things I didn't realize, like drumsticks have pitch. Like if you hold it close to your ear and tap it with your nail, you can hear it like a different pitch. Like when they talk about having like matched pairs, that's what they're on about. Right. And if you get a brand new stick, they'll often be quite high pitched, and then you play that on the right cymbal on a snare, it sounds really bright. And if you get a proper old one, it sounds like really dead and horrible. The difference in sound and tone is like, it's gargantuan. Like, but until I was shown that, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. So having better, fresher sticks will make you sound better for one, but also he's saying about like you don't want to like crush the stick. Like it's like holding like a baby bird or something. Like you don't want it to fly away, but you also you don't want to kill it. So just hold it. Don't squeeze it, and then just let the stick actually have a tone on the kit as well. So it's just those little things, and also just like moving my bass drum position up. Also, my foot on the pedal board is like just like bring it back like an inch, and the difference in tone out of that from what I was doing before it was night and day.
Wow.
So yeah, if like anyone listening now, like if you've got your kit at home, just kind of put your foot at the very top of the board and just walk it back a little bit, and you'll eventually hear like the sort of sweet spot on the pedal where the bass drum just sounds better.
Wow.
Yeah, all these little kind of just ninja tricks that he showed me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
What sticks are you currently using these days?
Vic Firth, I've been using them for years now. They're great. Just like bog standard like 5B wood tips, but they work for me. Although when I was seeing Bob doing the jazz stuff, and when we've done these orchestral gigs, I use SD9s, which are like the kind of maple ones, which are like much lighter and brighter. But if I'm playing like a full main stage Bastille gig, I'm just going to snap them in the first 10 seconds. So yeah, they're not going to be kind of hefty enough for that.
You mentioned some of the drummers that you sort of looked up to growing up. In your position as, drummer in Bastille, have you met any of your idols at all? Anyone, or just anyone in, that
I've had a couple, like Dave Grohl's like my idol. I've had a few opportunities where I could have just gone bowling in and go, "Hi Dave, I'm in a band that you probably don't know," and there's like I don't want to do that. A, bother him, and B, like I don't want to come across as a big fanboy either. So if you meet someone like organically, then that's kind of like better. Met Questlove briefly when we did Jimmy Fallon. Obviously, he's the house drummer on there, and he's just otherworldly.
Yeah. He is, yeah.
He's phenomenal.
I mean, I think I read that you guys toured with Muse.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So yeah, also, yeah, Muse are like, I mean, Devon boy as well. So like Muse to me, like massive growing up. I was obsessed with them. So yeah, Dom's lovely. In fact, like all the boys are, and which is that was weird because that was like literally meeting and hanging out and touring with your idols growing up. Like, this is really weird. On that as well. So we opened for them for a few of their stadium shows. We were like first on, and it's such a Spinal Tap thing because we just started doing like bigger festival tents. Like we weren't anywhere near May stage yet, but doing like your sort of like NME stages at Reading, sort of like second stages. So like, right, we're going to go and get like a massive like Bastille backdrop for the album artwork on it. It's going to look sick. Just it's huge. And then they put it up at a stadium. It's just like a postage stamp behind us. Like, yeah, never mind.
Did you stick with it? Did you ride it out?
Oh yeah. Had to. Yeah. Didn't really
it's meant to be that
scale.
small.
There's like enormous production behind us. So like Muse had like literal flaming towers of fire and stuff behind us.
But the napkin says 10 feet. Yeah.
I know.
That's amazing.
But yeah, like so seeing them do that every night, and like Dom's like I think one of the most kind of consistent players out there. Like you rarely hear him make a mistake, and his playing is like so clean, and like some of those parts are like really intricate and involved. But yeah, to be honest, like the sort of the people that you meet along the way who have had successful or are successful generally don't have much of an ego or like an axe to grind. So they're just generally quite nice and normal and easy going. It's the ones who are like on the way up, maybe with like a lot to prove, a lot of ego, and maybe not quite justified it yet. They're the ones that can be a bit prickly. So yeah, I'll say Dom was probably like one of my sort of like heroes growing up. But obviously, I had the privilege of touring with.
It's pretty sweet. I love Muse.
Yeah. Also, so Muse's old tour manager Glenn, he's like a friend of ours, and we toured with them before, hung out a tiny bit, but not much because it's like obviously they're doing their arena stuff and we're just a support band. We're not expecting much. But then we did on the second album run, we did a festival in Poland where they were headlining and like we were on before them. And it was us, Incubus, who again it were lovely by the way, and I was big on Incubus growing up as well. Like, they're lovely lads. And then Muse. So after our set, we got stuck into the rider. I had a few drinks, and then Glenn came through. He's like, obviously knew we were going to watch Muse inside a stage. He thought it out for us very kindly. And then halfway through the set, he's like, they're doing their song like Bliss, and like during Bliss, they traditionally have these like massive balloons that just get pushed out in the crowd. He's like, do you want to help with the Bliss balloon? Yeah. having had a few drinks, and I can remember the words ringing in my ears from Dick, who's our tour manager, saying to Glenn, is like, take care of him, yeah? Glenn's like, yeah, fine, don't worry. So we're in the dark, going out like up the sort of middle channel of the festival, going to get these balloons, and this is in Poland, in like what's basically a recently ploughed field, so it's very uneven ground. And Dickhead here managed to get his foot wedged in a gap, and my ankle went one way, my leg went the other, and just fully sprained my ankle.
Oh.
So Glenn then emerges quite sheepishly with me about 5 minutes later, trying to find an ambulance. Dick's like, what did you do? So it ended with a night with me and Dick waiting in Polish A&E for 3 or 4 hours to get looked at, while the rest of the boys were off at the Muse after party, hanging out with them.
Oh my God, was that
having a lovely old time?
When was your next show after spraining your ankle? Was it like the next day?
Oh, well, no, we were so lucky that it was. We had like 10 days, and it was my left ankle.
Oh, okay, yeah, even better.
So like I knew I could have blagged through something if we had to without a bit of hi-hat and whatever going on. But yeah, that was real smooth move. Oh, and then they had the real indignity of, so then we flew back to the UK the next day. Incubus were on the same flight as us, and we landed at like the furthest gate possible away from the terminal. And Polish A&E wouldn't give me crutches. Then the cab driver that took us back sold me some at a very overinflated price, these scabby old crutches. So then I'm kind of having to hobble back through the whole length of Heathrow, and just like Incubus going past me like, have a good one. It took me ages to get home.
Life on the road.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to know, what would Woody be doing if he wasn't a drummer? When you were younger, did you have any inklings? I, for one, when I was 10, wanted to be a policeman. Yeah, I don't know. There was a time where I was flirting with the idea of the RAF, actually, just because I'm from a forces family, so like my granddad, like 2 uncles, were all like in the Navy and Marines and stuff. So not much a fan of being seasick. So I thought something else. My dad was in the Navy, and I'm not a fan of the water, so it wasn't really.
Nah, you're all right. You can keep that
for me. Yeah.
And my uncle was a captain on submarines, and he the stories coming out of that, like, no, that's definitely not for me. Yeah, in fact, being from Plymouth, obviously, a big naval city, so yeah, I've got pals who are like in the service and stuff. It's just not for me. So yeah, I doubt I'd have followed through with that. I don't know what I would have done. I mean,
is there anything now, like outside of music, that you think you'd like to go into? Not that you will, but if
I don't know. I mean, I'm massively obsessed with football, and just sport in general, to be honest. But like Plymouth Argyle is my team. I've done a handful of games on the radio, actually, for like the commentary. Yeah, so doing the sort of summarising.
Am I right thinking I saw you on Soccer AM hitting the crossbar?
Nailing
challenge?
The crossbar, thank you. Yeah.
nailing, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun as well. So I thought, yes, like something in and around that sort of like sports, like kind of more like fan punditry rather than some. Obviously, I'm not a player. I'm crap. So yeah, I mean, I guess there's something in and around that world, I guess. Yeah, that's always been my sort of like obsession.
So you're in Minneapolis right now.
Yeah.
Is your next show in Minneapolis?
Yeah, so it's Thursday now. No, Friday. So we play it tomorrow night. So you got another day off today, which is great. Minneapolis. Then we're on to Kansas City, and working our way sort of slowly east. So yeah, we'll be in New York in about 10 days' time. Should be great. And then we do. In fact, one of my favourite cities to play over here is actually DC. They've got a really good live music scene there, especially like the world famous 930 club as well. Basically, if you're ever backstage anywhere in the world, you'll see at least 1 or 2 roadies wearing like a 930 hoodie. It's just sort of like the sort of badge of honor almost to say you've been through there. So we're playing the sort of slightly bigger sister venue called the Anthem, which is like next door to it. So yeah, we do that, and then we do pop up to Canada briefly, and then back down more around kind of the Connecticut sort of way, and then we finish in Chicago, and then home, and then my wife will dump the kids on me the second I get to the front door.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have kids. George doesn't have kids that he knows of.
No.
I think. Like, how is it, you know, being a dad, being a husband, going away for that length of time?
So it's not easy, but obviously, I mean, this is how I've kind of managed to feed the family for like the last 10 years. So it's necessary. And it's gone well. So it's not easy. Obviously, FaceTime helps. So yeah, my kids are 6 and 4, so they're still at a relatively young age. But I would say on average, though, I mean, I've got mates living in Brighton who work up in London and will sometimes be, say, on the early train up before the kids wake up, and they're back late after they're in bed. So they only see the kids at the weekend. Which, I mean, when I'm home, I'm like properly home for like weeks and weeks and weeks on end. So I'd say on average, I definitely see my kids like a lot more than like some working parents would. So yeah, the sort of length of time away in one hit is not ideal, but yeah, over the sort of course of their lives, I think I'll be quite present still, hopefully. Yeah. But yeah, it's just you make it work. In fact, I guess for anyone who's like, in fact, I was having this chat with so we've got an artist called Alice Merton who's been supporting us on this tour. She and her band are brilliant. And I was chatting to the lads in her band who are like, they're kind of in steady relationships and just asking like how it works and stuff if you get married and have kids and that sort of thing. And the sort of like one sort of bit of advice I'd give to anyone who's a touring musician, when you're coming home, that the family will have found a routine without you. When you come back, it's like, yay, daddy's home. And then you just completely fuck up the routine for everyone. And it's very stressy. And then if you're home for 2 or 3 days and then go again, it's like you're just a tornado came through, messed everything up, and then they have to pick up the pieces again. So I think you've got a treat coming home as like you're on probation or parole for a minute. You've just got to behave, do as you're told, and fit in around them, and just kind of find your way back in slowly. And then that will like massively avoid like arguments and kind of difficulties coming off the road. Because yeah, I mean, some people find it really hard to adjust going back. Like I heard, I think it's like Kelly Jones of Stereophonics. Like I think his wife makes him go and stay in a hotel in Cardiff, like near their house for 2 days. When he comes back, she's like, "No, you're a pain in the ass."
Yeah,
when you first come back. So
Bono's wife does that as well because he's just so, you know,
she's a prick.
Yeah, he's full of him. It's almost like calm down for 2 weeks and
like quarantine, kind of like just decompress.
So I mean, I don't do that, but I've learned to kind of fit in when I come home now. So that's quite important, I guess. But also, I mean, to have like a family to come back to is like massively important to me as well, because then you can switch into this other kind of mode when you're back. Whereas I know some people, like mercifully not in our band, but I know of others who I won't name, who they fall into like drink and drugs because they miss the buzz of being on tour. It's like when you come back, it's like, what should you do now then? It's like, what time is it? Like 11:30 in the morning? Like pub? Yeah, pub. And then people end up trying to replace that buzz by just getting hammered on off days. And yeah, that's where kind of issues with drink and drugs can creep in if you're not aware of it. So yeah, just kind of good to be aware of.
We like to finish up just by asking everyone who we have on, who's your favourite delivery company?
Ooh. What, are we talking food or are we talking postage?
Ooh.
We always normally talk postage. You know, you've ordered something online, you're looking forward to getting it, you get the notification, you find out who the courier is. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. Who makes you happy?
Are we swearing on this podcast?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Hermes can suck my fucking dick.
That's been the absolute consensus.
Absolute shower of shite.
And we can see them change. They're changing their name, and we can all see through it.
Yeah, I know who you are. I don't know. I'll tell you what, purely because I had to get this is a really, really fun, boring story for you. My wife is German, and we had to get, and my kids have German and UK passports, lucky things. We had to get those renewed. I had to get my passport sent back super quick from tour this week, and FedEx did a good job. So yeah, FedEx didn't mess that up.
FedEx,
yeah, they're solid.
Bad. We find DPD tend to be quite near the top of the list for people.
Not too bad. But yeah, food wise, Deliveroo just take the piss with all the markup on the cost of it.
They do, yeah.
Not a fan of that.
Not a fan of that. Cool.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Woody. It's been an absolute
pleasure, boys.
Yeah, and have a great rest of the tour.
Thank you. Well, hopefully I'll run into you at some point over the summer or something somewhere in a muddy field.
We'll come to a show, won't we, George?
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it. Take care, mate.
Cheers. Bye.
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 There we go.
There we go. Hope you
Lovely chat with
enjoyed.
Woody. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed it, didn't we?
We did, and
we did.
yeah.
I didn't mention this to Woody, but obviously, I'm not sure if you did, but we used to play Pompeii in Decade every gig for about 4 or 5 years. I didn't want to bring that up just in case he said, "Oh, where's our PRS money?"
Yeah, it's true.
Or anything like that. But yeah, he's living the dream, isn't he?
I wonder how many times he's played Pompeii now.
Yeah, quite a few.
Thousands, probably.
Yeah.
It's got to be. But yeah, he is living the dream. And
what a lovely
smashing it.
chap.
Lovely chap. Very, as I said, very generous with his time and.
I mean, he was going
and
into
stuff.
some proper detail with his drum kit.
Yeah.
Which was, and we found some people like to go that way.
Yeah.
Some people don't really care.
Well, this is what I've said about, not to pat our backs about this podcast, but I think it's quite nice to have drummers on, and they'll tell you things that if you are a drummer, it's fascinating, because there'll be drummers listening going, "Oh, wow, I never knew that's the kit he played and that was his setup." But then there'll be non-drummers listening, and they might perhaps, get a kick out of the gig stories, or, it's sort of
these
there's a
are
good balance.
educational lectures.
Exactly.
Once a
basically
week.
Like TED Talks, aren't they?
Yeah, bull talks. But,
Leave it there.
yeah, I think we'll leave it there because no time of the week, no drum dumpster this week. It's all Woody, baby.
It's all Woody. But if you're a listener and you've never listened before, but listen because you heard he was on, please do stick around because
stick around. Go back through the back catalogue. There's some great interviews in there. Some lovely chat between just me and yourself, Georgie boy.
Yeah.
And what I will say is we had a tweet. Someone mentioned us in a tweet recently.
Yeah.
From America. I'm gonna give him a shout out. Top Snap Podcast. He sent us some pictures of his drum kit and said, "I'm new to drums. These photos are for those English bald dudes that bang on those heads. I'm digging the podcast."
Oh, well, thank you.
And I just really like those English bald dudes.
Yeah.
Because he's not wrong.
No, he's joining in on the banter.
He's not wrong. Yeah. But find us on Twitter, Instagram. Send us an email. Maybe some drum dumps and stuff. Is there some shit you want us to chat about? Review?
Yeah.
Send us your pictures of your kit, first kits. Just get in touch. Just come and say hi.
Any mad gig stories?
Welcome. Yeah, gig stories. Just get in touch.
Exactly. We're creating a community, a drum community.
Yeah. And if
you're
you've
all
got
welcome.
hair, that's absolutely fine. We'll,
Exactly.
Woody had loads of hair. He's got luscious hair.
Yeah. Seriously. Locks.
Lovely stuff.
Lovely stuff. Well, have a good day, mate.
Thank you, mate. I think I will.
Good.
Yeah.
You should. Not just
I'll,
because I've said that, but
No, but I think it's just important to, try and make each day as good as you can.
Who are you, and what have you done with Ben Winty?
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Drum and Drummer. You can find us on Instagram at Drum and Drummer Podcast. And you can send us an email to drumanddrummerpod@gmail.com. Remember, just pick up the sticks and twat it.